Welcome along to the second in our series of Causeway Coast Community Meets the Local PSNI. I'm Dennis McNeil, and with me this morning is Inspector Donna Bowden. Inspector, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
Now, we've agreed to have a bit of a chat about antisocial behaviour. Can we start maybe by getting a definition of how you or how the police would define antisocial behaviour?
Yes, Dennis, there's various types of antisocial behaviour. There's personal antisocial behaviour, nuisance and environmental. Us in the PSNI and myself, what we look at is personal and nuisance antisocial behaviour, and this can range from kids knocking on doors and running away, from kids congregating on the street making noise loud at night, or just being a general nuisance to members of the public.
And in a very general sense, without being specific at the moment, but in a very general sense for this area as far as police are concerned, how prevalent is antisocial behaviour?
Well, coming into the summer months, obviously we have longer evenings. Right across Northern Ireland, we see a trend that antisocial behaviour rises in our summer months from June, July and August. And we see a rise in that. But we're prepared for that, Dennis. And we've seen that, so we've seen the trend, and we have plans in place and working with other statutory agencies to work to help combat antisocial behaviour.
Before I ask about your plans, what age group are we referring to here?
I would say we're referring from 10 up until about 17, 18.
So 10's quite a tender young age. From that age up through to mid or late teens, that age group can present a problem.
Yes, that's right, they do. But what I would like to say is there's an awful lot of youths in this town at the moment who have seen that and want to be role models. For example, I work with children from the Rutledge group, and they made a video in relation to underage drinking. So they're all under 18 and they can see the importance of being role models to stop antisocial behaviour and underage drinking in the likes of Anderson's Park. So we do have young children who want to be role models and to stop that happening.
And we've seen coverage, not just in the local press. Causeway Coast Community has had various stories over the last week or two, a month or two. What sort of things go on here in this park in the evenings?
Well, you have your families coming in, long evenings, you have your families playing with the kids in the park. You have people dog walking through the park. You have people who just want to sit because it's a beautiful park. The flowers are gorgeous, it's gorgeous scenery and the lovely little stream. But then we do have an element of antisocial behaviour. But as I say, that's right across Northern Ireland. It's just not solely here in Coleraine.
What sort of things are they actually doing where you or I would find ourselves saying, for goodness sake, catch yourself on?
Yes, things like making noise loud at night. We have elderly residents who live in the town centre. That can be very daunting to them. To you and I, maybe not, but to them it is very daunting, and it's antisocial behaviour, so we have to deal with it. There's also underage drinking and drinking in this park as well. This is a council bylaw. You're not allowed to drink in this park, and you're not allowed obviously to underage drink as well, because that's against the law.
If I go back a few years and coming to underage again, I remember years ago in the town centre in Coleraine, a Friday afternoon was somewhere between hectic and bananas with all the school kids, and that eventually seemed to present a bit of a problem for the public and for police.
Yes.
Is that still the case?
Well, it's not the case, but I know, yes, a couple of years ago we would have had arranged fights through social media. However, working with all the schools in the area, working with other statutory and voluntary agencies, we have combated that now. So yes, on a Friday afternoon you do have school kids down the town, but you know what? They're not being antisocial. They are gathering, they are meeting their friends and they are behaving, and that's through working with the schools and also working with ourselves and engaging with them, and they can see how their actions can be detrimental not only to themselves but also to the school.
Now, some of our followers watching this, myself included, will say, oh, I remember the time if I went home and said I'd been badly behaved, my father would have, let me phrase it, as taken his hand to my bottom or the back of my head or something. Now, that's not the case now. We don't have corporal punishment really, and of course that would constitute an assault. How do parents and how do the police reason with youngsters nowadays?
Well, what we have various resolutions that we can in how to deal with antisocial behaviour. Firstly, it's just a warning and taking them home and speaking to the parents. That would be your bottom level. If they haven't come to our attention before, everybody's allowed a chance, shall we say. Yeah. Then we would have referrals to our youth diversion officer, and that would maybe put them on the radar for youth diversion officer, so she could monitor how their behaviour, is it getting better, is it getting worse? Then we can move up to criminal resolution notices, which are basically like fixed penalty notices in relation to having to pay a monetary value or some resolution to the community, like maybe doing voluntary hours, tidying up, picking up litter, some sort of punishment that isn't criminal. And then we move further on up in relation to a prosecution file to the PPS.
So it's all very well saying, oh, we're only larking about, officer, or we're just messing about and so on. But you're saying there are consequences. There can be consequences.
Absolutely. Every action has a consequence. And we have to remember that you may not realise how your action is perceived by an elderly person who is absolutely petrified by the noise that you're making. They may not realise the implications that's having on a young family with kids playing by. That might scare the young family, or the parents may feel vulnerable. So it's to think about what you're doing, and if somebody comes over and asks you to curtail your behaviour, don't take it thick. Don't take it that they're being awkward with you, because this is a park that's meant to be enjoyed by everybody.
Should we, members of the public, should we contact the police in the event of something that concerns us going on?
Absolutely, Dennis, because if we don't know what's happening, we can't do something about it. We were made aware around about October, November last year in relation to antisocial behaviour, particularly in this park. We got together all the statutory and voluntary agencies, and to date, today, we have had 150 less reports of antisocial behaviour compared to this time last year. Joint partnership works, but we need the public to report antisocial behaviour to us so as we can do something about it.
Okay, and Inspector Bowden, finally, and a final question. I'm asking the police, I'm asking you, what should parents of those between 10 years of age, 15, 16, 17, what advice have you got for them? What should they be saying to their youngsters with the 2 long months that lie ahead?
Firstly, do you know where your children are? Do you definitively know where your children are? Children are going to be children, and maybe, say they're going somewhere and they aren't going. Know where your children are. Lead by example. Show them that, behaviour that's not right and behaviour that is acceptable. And if they have young brothers, what role model are they going to be to their younger children that they have? But the parents do need to be responsible for their children as well.
Inspector Donna Bowden, thank you very much indeed for chatting to us. That's it from what was the second of our chats with the local PSNI. For Causeway Coast Community with Inspector Donna Bowden, I'm Dennis McNeil.